What's up guys, today I get to take a look at a brand new budget M4 gel wool blaster from the company Double Bell. This blaster was sent to me by Tac Toys and it's the absolute cheapest price to performance gel blaster I've ever seen. It usually sells for around 269 Australian dollars, but I even saw it as low as 217 during their Black Friday sale. And that's ignoring the fact that you can add my discount code on top of that to make the price even cheaper. Also, some good news for USA viewers, you'll actually be able to buy this blaster in the USA early next year. So keep an eye out at the links down below. There are 3 different models of the Double Bell M4 to choose from, and all of them should perform around the same as the one I have here. So just pick the one that looks best for you. I have heard these are selling out very quickly though, so if you miss out, you will have to wait until I think February next year. They're getting more in Australia and the first ones into the US. So what actually makes these able to be so cheap? Well, Double Bell have chosen to use full nylon for the externals while keeping the internals metal. Not a lot of gel blasters these days use nylon externals anymore because people tend to prefer the realism of full metal externals. But of course, that increases the price quite a bit. There are of course some downsides of nylon. For example, the handguard on this particular blaster is a little wobbly side to side, but the performance of this thing for the much lower price may be worth it for beginners. Clocking in at around 350 feet per second straight out of the box. Because I think this thing is targeted at beginners, I'll give you a quick refresher on how gel blasters work, then we'll get stuck into what you get with a blaster, and then I'll end with some testing. Starting off with gel balls themselves. When you buy a packet of gel balls, they'll come dehydrated, usually in packs of around 10,000. These Ronin gel balls I have here are Tac Toys' hardest gel ball that they sell, so those are what I'll be using today. Open up the packet of gels and add them to some water. They'll take about 4 hours to grow to a size of 7.3 millimeters in diameter. Always make sure you have more water than the gel balls need, otherwise they'll end up too small and won't work properly in your blaster. On top of that, always drain the excess water out before loading your magazines or you'll damage the tiny little feed motor inside the mags by getting them wet. These particular magazines open up at the top. Simply flip open the hatch and pour in your dried gel balls. Close up the hatch and you're almost ready to go. Next, we need to charge the battery. The Double Bell M4 comes with a tiny little 11.1 volt LiPo, which has an adapter from JST to Mini Tamiya. Not exactly the safest idea. Being so small, it also probably wouldn't last an entire game day. So I'd recommend upgrading to something larger like the Turnigy battery I have here, which is actually wired directly for Mini Tamiya, so much safer than using an adapter. This blaster also comes with a cheap USB charger that uses the white JST connector to charge. Always supervise your LiPo batteries while they're charging, don't go walking the dog or going to sleep and leaving it charge overnight. And for an extra peace of mind, I like to charge mine in a fireproof bag just in case. You can find these on Amazon or eBay if you type in the keywords LiPo safe bag. I would also upgrade that USB charger to something better like an IMAX B6, but ultimately that choice is up to you. With the battery charge, pull down on the stock adjustment lever to remove the stock from the buffer tube. Pushing up on that lever will adjust the stock, but it won't allow it to come off fully, so to remove it, you have to pull down. Plug in your battery using the transparent green Mini Tamiya connector, and store it inside the buffer tube. Reattach the stock, making sure not to crush any of the wires, and depending on how long your own battery is, this might mean not fully collapsing your buttstock due to the limitations in space. The blaster is now ready to use, so insert your loaded mag and you're ready to go. Just like a real M4, this has a 3-position fire select. You have a functioning safety that won't allow you to pull the trigger. You have semi-auto, which will fire 1 gel ball per trigger pull. From there you have full auto, which is how most people use their gel blaster. Included in the box is a metal gel blaster HopUp. This is modeled to look like a flash hider and replaces your orange muzzle device, and simply threads onto the front of your barrel. Has a rubber O-ring inside the threaded portion, so simply tighten it onto your barrel with the curved tongue aligned to the top, then tighten the grub screw underneath to hold it in place. Once it's nice and secure, you can adjust the upper and lower tongues to your taste until you get a nice flat trajectory out to around 30 meters. Moving back from the HopUp, you have the front sight post, and below that you have a functional bayonet attachment lug, which you can use with aftermarket plastic bayonets. There's even a front sling point, which I don't actually use, but I did tie my team color ribbon to it during the gameplay footage. Moving back from there, now we come to the Handguard. The Handguard has some pretty cheap and nasty Picatinny covers on it out of the box, and I managed to break the plastic clip on mine just trying to remove it. So I think you need to make the choice of whether you want the covers on or off, and don't constantly swap them on or off, or you will eventually break the plastic clip that holds them on. Now this is a real Picatinny spec quad rail, so you can add all the attachments you like to this blaster. As I mentioned earlier though, there is a little bit of wobble between the Handguard and the receiver. I don't think I've ever seen a nylon M4 that doesn't have a little bit of play here, and for the price you're paying for this, I don't think it's a big deal. The receiver has some painted on decals for a little added realism. It just says property of US government M4 carbine caliber 5.56. Plus there's also some smaller text which just says a Colt patent. Pulling the charging handle on the blaster will open the dust cover on the ejection port. And the charging handle is spring retractable, giving you something to fidget with. Unfortunately, there's no mag prime coupled to the charging handle, so you will have to fire the blaster for a couple of seconds to get gel balls feeding when you first use a mag for the day. Once you've got the mag feeding though for the first time, the rest of the day you should be able to just put them straight in and they'll fire immediately. Up top, it has an adjustable rear iron sight. Most people I know don't actually use sights when playing gel ball, and they just aim down the side of the blaster like a paintball marker, since you can easily see where your gel balls are going. I personally like to add a red dot sight and use that and center the massive gel ball spread over my enemy players.
You got me too, man.
But that's all personal preference and something you'll learn as you play. The buttstock is a pretty standard crane style stock. The back of it has a nice rubber padding, and there's a couple of slits in the side where you could add a sling if you wanted to. But that pretty much covers my overview of the blaster. So now let's get to some testing. First, let's see how it shoots through a chronograph velocity wise.
346, 333, 353, 336, 352, 355, 337, 350, 355, and 340.
It shot an average of 345 feet per second, it hit a high twice of 355, and it hit a low once of 333. So now let's quickly reset the chrono and we'll check the rate of fire on full auto. So on full auto it's shooting 1017 rounds per minute, or converted that's 17 rounds per second. Pretty impressive velocity and rate of fire for such a low cost entry level blaster. Finally, I'm going to shoot at a 1 meter diameter target from a distance of 30 meters away and see how it compares to other gel blasters. And that's keeping in mind that even the spread of my $1,000 plus gel blasters cover the entire target at this distance.
Seems to feed fine. Just need to aim a little bit lower. Yeah, most of those are landing within about a meter. A couple of outliers going left and right of the target to about probably 1.5 meters. Pretty much on par with any other stock gel blaster.
So there you have it, that's the Double Bell M4, the cheapest, best bang for your buck gel blaster out there. This blaster is great value for beginners, but also being externally made of nylon rather than metal. One thing that you might not think about is that it's very lightweight compared to full metal blasters. It's available right now in Australia, or early next year if you're from the USA. There's also another shipment of these coming to Australia early next year too. Check out the links down below and always use my discount code at checkout to save yourself some money and support my channel. Like, comment, subscribe and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one.